Recording in progress.
A very good afternoon to all my dear students. Welcome to today's session, which is the second session for chapter number 2, right? Students, I hope you all have studied from the module, the homework that was given to you, that you were supposed to read till page number 2.13. That is the page number till where we have covered in the last session, right? So in the last session, I'll just quickly tell you as to what we have covered, and then we'll be finishing today's chapter, which is chapter number 2, right? So let me just share my screen so I can see Akshara, Atharv, Bhanu, Charan, Dimple, Gayatri, Jayendra, Jyoti, Kiran, Mahalakshmi, Minu, Mohan, Nisha Singh, Prem, Priyanka. These students have already joined. Yash, Vaishnavi, Sunil, Shravika, Shifa, Sandhya. So students, please take full advantage of this session by just concentrating on what we are discussing, by making these session interactive and doing the homework that is given to you. And the homework is basically you are supposed to just revise what we have done in the session and try to make your own notes, right? So we started with we had a discussion with respect to audit planning, whereby we took the example of your exams as well as a holy party. And then we discussed the practical situations of audit with respect to audit planning. We have discussed benefits of planning, then nature of audit planning, which is that audit planning is a continuous and iterative process, right? Then involvement of engagement partner and other key members, and that the auditor may discuss the elements of planning with the management, but it should not compromise with the effectiveness of the audit, right? I gave you example of surprise check of cash, whereby the effectiveness of audit will be compromised. Then elements of planning mean we discussed preliminary engagement activities, whereby I told you that there are two parties. Hai. So one is auditor, one is client. So auditor will try to understand something about the client, which is the first part, performing procedures regarding the continuance and acceptance of client relationship and audit engagement. Then second point about the audit firm, that is the evaluating compliance with ethical requirements, including independence. And after that, third point is establishing and understanding of the terms of engagement, right? I hope you are clear with this. Then planning activities may we have discussed about establishing the overall audit strategy and the various factors that the auditor needs to consider while he's establishing an overall audit strategy. If you have any doubt relating to the last session, you can always send me the queries. Otherwise, like if any queries there, I'll just wait for 30 seconds. Otherwise, I'll start with today's topic, which is development of audit plan. So, good afternoon, Nisha, Priyanka, Kiran, Rajveer, Sunil. So Priyanka is saying that she has finished writing the notes too, which is really very, very appreciable. Others also, you should start preparing the notes, right? Charan, I'll take up your query in today's session, right? So chalo, let us start with development of audit plan, right? So if you remember in the last session, we have discussed that the the responsibility of the auditor with respect to planning and audit of financial statement is contained in SA 300. And as I told you that the learning of this name is of SA is very simple, planning and audit of financial statement, right? So once the overall audit strategy has been established, right? And the matters that the auditor identified while establishing the overall audit strategy. So when I tell you overall audit strategy, it is the setting up of the scope, timing, and direction of the audit as we have discussed in the last session. So once the overall audit strategy has been established, out of the matters that has been identified while auditor was establishing the overall audit strategy, and see the objective is the same, to give an opinion, and efficient use of resources, like conducting the audit in an effective and efficient manner, that will remain the same. So considering all these factors, now SA 300 requires that the auditor should develop an audit plan. which shall include a description of three things. So I've written in short form. You are not supposed to write NTE or this RAP. This is basically what? The nature, timing, and extent of planned risk assessment procedures, right? Then the nature, timing, extent of planned further audit procedures. FAP is what? Further audit procedures and other planned audit procedures, right? So basically, while we were setting up the overall audit strategy, we decided the scope. Charan, this is your query. The scope as to what will be examined, what will not be examined, right? The timing when the same will be examined, right? And the direction, that is how the auditor is going to proceed with the audit activity, right? Now, here comes the detailed plan as to what audit procedures the auditor is going to perform. ठीक है, scope determine किया overall audit strategy में, that is, this is the scope, all these items will be examined. Now, audit plan, that is how they will be examined, right? So the audit procedures will be performed. Here, student, I would like to just explain a little about the the audit procedures, like the risk assessment procedures and the further audit procedures, though we are going to discuss these procedures in detail in chapter number 3 and chapter number 4. But for the purpose of understanding this topic, which is development of audit plan, understanding this, just a minute, understanding this is important. So let me just give you a brief. Otherwise, we'll be discussing this in detail in chapter number 3 and 4 also. See, tell me, whenever now abhi ke liye just forget about overall audit strategy and audit plan. Tell me, if the auditor has to perform, or let's say he has to check the sales transactions, right? So what will he perform? Tell me, what according to you the auditor is going to perform? Give me a term with respect to the activity that the auditor is going to perform. So I can see your replies. Sales invoice, right? So sales voucher checking, yes. Aman is saying checking, right? So checking, inspection of documents, observation of inventory count, inquiring with the management. These are what the activities that the auditor is going to perform. Or in other words, I can say these are the audit procedures. See, how will auditor conclude whether the financial statement reflected true and fair view? How will auditor give his opinion? By performing certain activities, and those are called audit procedures, right? Audit procedures can be of two types, that is risk assessment procedures and your further audit procedures or the other procedures. Just try to understand the basic about this in detail. We are going to discuss in chapter number 3 and chapter number 4, right? See, what all procedures the auditor can perform. He can inspect the documents, or he can inspect the building physically. He can just inspect the building, right? Or the documents. So that is called inspection. External confirmation. If you remember, I gave you the example of external confirmation in the last session, SA 505, if you remember, I referred to. So external confirmation is with respect to third parties like debtors, creditors, or let's say the bankers. Auditor is obtaining confirmation from them, right? Confirmation can be with respect to what is the balance, what are the terms and conditions. This we are going to discuss in the next session. Analytical procedures is what? Calculating what ratios. One of the example. Considering the trends. Again, another example, SA 520, we will be discussing in this regard, right? Then inquiry. Inquiry can be with respect to, let's say, the management, or inquiry from the internal legal counsel, or let's say the marketing personnel. So inquiry from the officials, maybe within the organization or outside the organization. Observation, when the auditor is observing, let's say, the physical inventory count, right? See, physical inventory count is one of the internal controls that is implemented by the management, done by the management. So what is auditor going to do with respect to physical inventory count? He's going to observe that physical inventory count being conducted by the employees of the client organization, right? Recalculation, example, your recalculation of, let's say, depreciation amount, right? Reperformance, like auditor may make BRS with respect to the bank balances every month, right? So this is what the audit procedures that the auditor will perform in order to find audit evidence, conclude, and then give an opinion, right? Now, based on, so the mnemonic for this is ICAI ORR. So I told you that I'll be discussing the techniques that you can follow if you find it easy. If you get confused, no need to follow these. Okay? So these are the audit procedures that the auditor may perform. Now, when the auditor perform these audit procedures with respect to identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement, and in fact, when the auditor is performing the audit procedure to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement, see, abhi to kya hai, when the auditor is performing the audit procedure as risk assessment procedure, he is just obtaining a understanding about the financials of the client organization, the understanding about the client organization. He has not as such started checking the financial statements. So abhi to the portions that I have highlighted in green, that is, he may perform inspection, he may perform analytical procedures. Inspection is he may go through, let's say, the documents like the predecessor auditor's report, the financials of the last year. He is inspecting. Analytical procedures, let's say he calculates GP ratio and compare them with the last years, right, to see the trends. Inquiry, he may inquire with the, let's say, the management of the organization to know, let's say the auditor discusses with the management and inquires as to tell us what are your related party transactions, or are there any foreign subsidiaries. Observation, again, auditor may perform all these activities. So these are what audit procedures are going to be the same, like inspection, analytical procedure, inquiry, observation. When these are performed in order to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement, these are termed as risk assessment procedures. And what is the relevant essay number where auditor performs this? Essay 315. And I told you chapter 3, we are going to study this in detail. Identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment, right? Now, based on the outcome of these risk assessment procedures, so auditor identified that the, let's say, while auditor is performing all these procedures, that is the risk assessment procedure, auditor identifies that the risk assessment procedure is low, right? Based on auditor's assessment of these this risk of material misstatement, auditor will determine his further audit procedures. That is, he is going to determine what is going to be the nature, timing, extent of his further audit procedures. Abhi ke liye just try to understand further audit procedures means whereby auditor is actually checking the internal controls of the organization, whereby auditor is actually checking the financial statements of the organization. ठीक है? अभी I'm not like discussing as to what is contained further in these. See, if you just look at the name of the essay 315, so it says identifying, assessing the risk of material misstatement. How? So auditor is understanding the entity and its environment. So this is just the understanding part. And how will auditor do that? He may inquire, he may conduct inspection of documents, he may perform analytical procedure, or he may perform observation, right? Based on his outcome. So I gave example that auditor identifies that the risk of material misstatement with respect to this particular client is high. So auditor will accordingly decide the nature, timing, extent of his further audit procedures. That, see, my assessment is that risk is going to be high with respect to these transactions. So other audit procedures, auditor is going to decide the nature, the timing, and the extent, right? Is it clear? So just a brief idea about the audit procedures. Let me just have a look at the queries, if any. See, students, I have discussed this in the last session also. Risk of material misstatement. Okay. So, risk of material misstatement means that the financial statement may contain any material misstatement. Misstatement is mistake, whether due to fraud or error, right? Prior to audit. So, abhi we are not talking about audit. Auditor will give an inappropriate opinion when the financial statement are material misstated. That is audit risk. Risk of material misstatement is related to the client organization and their financial statements, right? So the risk that the financial statement may be prone to misstatement is what your risk of material misstatement. It is further divided into inherent risk and control risk that I'll be discussing it in chapter number 3. Okay, so abhi ke liye is it clear? So let me just give you an example. For example, when auditor inquires with the management. So inquiry is one of the risk assessment procedure. Management tells the auditor that, see, we are importing raw material from, let's say, Korea, right? And during the last financial year, the government has put a ban on all the imports from Korea. Now, this is a risk because it may have an impact on the going concern, right? Now, whether this fact has been reflected in the financial statement. So, the risk of material misstatement increases. Are you able to understand? Now, if management tells the auditor that, see, we have also considered this point and we have started going local and we have let's say selected the tenders with respect to the local suppliers also. So this is having a mitigating impact on that risk. Accordingly, based on the outcome of the risk assessment procedures, so based on the outcome of the inquiry with the management in this case, auditor will decide his other procedure. So what can be the impact? So auditor will say, nahi, I have assessed that the risk of material misstatement is high. So we are going to check the financials in detail, whereby our focus will be on all those tenders, the disclosure in the financial statement with respect to that going concern, right? So where does auditor performs the risk assessment procedure? Under SA 315, identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment. And how does auditor respond to those risks? Under SA 330, by performing audit procedures only, and the name is what? The auditor's responses to assessed risk. So what is the trigger point? Let's say for SA 330, it is the outcome of SA 315. Okay. So let me just have a look. So is it clear, Dhanush? Is it clear? Yes. So these are basically the procedures that the auditor perform when he has to check any financial statement or any item of the financial statement. So these are going to be the procedures. He may perform inspection, external confirmation is when auditor is actually checking the financial statement. That is as for the audit procedure. Same way, recalculation, reperformance bhi to tabhi hoga na when the auditor is actually checking the financial statement. But inspection, analytical procedures, inquiry, observation, these procedures can be performed whether auditor is performing risk assessment procedure or the further audit procedures. Okay? So what were we discussing? We were discussing about development of an audit plan. So what basically auditor will do? He will jot down as to, so the audit plan shall include a description of the nature, timing, extent, what kind of audit procedures, what timing, to what extent he is going to check of risk assessment procedures. Second point, the nature, timing, extent of further audit procedures. And third point says that the nature, timing, extent of other procedures. For example, SA 501, SA 505 requires that the auditor needs to perform various other procedures. So the third point says that other audit procedures as are required. Let me just take you through that slide. So planning and audit of financial statement. Auditor shall develop an audit plan that shall include a description of nature, timing, extent of planned risk assessment procedures. Nature, timing, extent of planned further audit procedures at assertion level. Assertion level I'll be discussing in the next session. And then other planned audit procedure as required by other essays. Okay? So are you able to get that overall audit strategy में क्या था? Overall approach, how to proceed with the audit. ठीक है? So this we are going to check. To this extent, we are going to check. Now, how? By performing these procedures. The risk assessment procedures, the further audit procedures, and the other procedures as required by the essays. ठीक है? So basically, when we say nature, timing, extent, we say what type of procedure, what timing, and how much. Nature, timing, and extent. So this is what about your development of an audit plan. Development of an audit plan. Is it clear? Okay. Now let me just take you through the module. See, once the overall audit strategy has been established, just a minute. Once the overall audit strategy has been established, an audit plan can be developed to address the various matters identified, taking into account the need to achieve the audit objective through the efficient use of auditors' resources. So, SA 300 says, see, overall audit strategy hai, yeah, overall, or audit plan is there. The purpose is the same. So, what are the three things that this paragraph is talking about? So, matters identified while establishing the overall audit strategy, plus the need to achieve the audit objective, which is the same to express an opinion, and then ensuring efficient use of resources. So this is going to be the same whether you are establishing the overall audit strategy or whether you are developing an audit plan. So once the overall audit strategy has been established, considering the audit objective and efficient use of resources, the auditor shall develop an audit plan that shall include a description of NT of planned risk assessment procedures. So I'll say nature, timing, extent of planned risk assessment procedure, nature, timing, extent of planned further audit procedure at assertion level, and other planned audit procedures as required by the other essays. When we say nature, timing, extent, it means the type of audit procedure, the timing, and how much. And I've told you that ICAI, ORR, these are the audit procedures that the auditor will perform depending upon the context in which he's performing, whether he's performing them to identify and assess a risk of material misstatement. So if he's performing them to identify and assess of the risk of material misstatement, they will be risk assessment procedures. If he's performing those procedure to check the internal controls or the financial statement, those will be called what? Your further audit procedures. Now let me just have a look at your chats again. So yes, Aman, a very good conclusion. So he's saying that auditor will first perform risk assessment procedure to determine the other procedure, which is absolutely correct. Okay. Assertion level I'll take up in the next session. Otherwise, I won't be able to finish this chapter because next session may it is in detail. Okay. Yes, this is essay 300. Okay. Now let me just show you this line which Aman has absolutely correctly quoted. So see, this paragraph, this concludes this risk assessment procedure and further audit procedure wala part. See, planning the auditor's risk assessment procedure occurs early in the audit process. However, planning the nature, timing, extent of specific further audit procedure depends upon the outcome of those risk assessment procedures, right? So the outcome of the risk assessment procedure will help auditor in determining the nature, timing, extent of the further audit procedures. Is it clear? Is it clear? So, and one more thing. See, when I am deciding the nature, timing, extent of the risk assessment procedures or the further audit procedures, tell me, is obtaining understanding of the client business important? Quickly, a yes or no, quick answers. So Harshada, Harsh, all are saying yes. Rihanna is saying yes. Yash is saying yes. Shalija is saying yes. Right? So see, when you are saying that, okay, I'll be recalculating the depreciation, let's say with respect to further audit procedure, right? But that this organization is a service organization, there are no fixed assets as such, or the fixed assets that are there are not material as such. So will you give more weightage to performing recalculation with respect to depreciation? No, right? So obtaining an understanding about the client's business is the foremost important thing when auditor has to develop an audit plan. And now it should be on your fingertips. What description shall it include? The description of the nature, timing, extent of planned risk assessment procedure, the nature, timing, extent of planned further audit procedure at assertion level, and the other procedures, planned audit procedure that are required to be carried out so that the engagement complies with SCs. And this paragraph beautifully concludes or give you an idea about the risk assessment procedures and further audit procedures. So this was about the development of audit plan. And I've told you that obtaining the understanding of the client's business is utmost important when auditor is developing an audit plan. See, obviously, now when you as an auditor, you are seeing as to what all audit procedures you have to perform. Understanding of the nature of the client's business is a must, right? So with this, we have finished our elements of planning, that is preliminary engagement activities, planning activities, whereby we saw establishing the overall audit strategy and developing an audit plan, right? Is it clear? Quickly go through this, test your understanding, one question. Quickly go through it. Let me just have a look at your queries. So, Anubhav, I have told you, see, when you are just obtaining an understanding of the client procedure, just give me a second. I have spilled some water on my book. Just a moment. So, whose query is this? Anubhav is saying, ma'am, risk assessment procedure includes all these procedures. See, auditor is just identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement when he is performing the risk assessment procedures. ठीक है? So वहां पर recalculation, reperformance, external confirmation will not come, but yes, inquiry, inspection, observation, analytical procedures can come. ठीक है? So अभी के लिए just have an understanding of this. In the next session, in the next chapter, we will discuss this in detail. Yes, Charan, you are right, but I'll just come on this when we will discuss the next topic. Others also please reply whether it is clear. The topics that we have discussed so far, are those clear? Are you finding the speed and explanation, everything fine? Chalo, ठीक है, that's good. Tanvi saying yes. Yes, ma'am, all. Nandini saying yes. Priyanka saying yes. Anubhav saying yes. Janvi saying totally understood. Who is saying? Priyanka, chalo, good. ठीक है? Now, just go through this question. So, MG and Company, a firm of auditors having standing of 30 years, is appointed as statutory audit of the company engaged in manufacturing of defense equipment. Due to opening of defense sector by government to private players in recent times, many new companies have entered the fray to manufacture sophisticated defense equipment. Considering technical and complex nature of operations, the auditors recognize that involvement of expert in the audit is required. Does consideration for involvement of expert by auditors fall in the domain of planning audit? So many of you have answered it correctly. That is, many of you have said yes, right? Because this is a part of planning itself, right? So when you are planning, so basically inquiry will include this now. So involvement of experts, whether that is required or not, that will include the part of the planning, right? Second question we have done in the last session. Now, with respect to the relationship between audit strategy, audit plan. So I think Charan, you had a query now. So now your query will be resolved. So see students, overall audit strategy, it sets a broad overall approach to audit, how the auditor is going to proceed with the audit. Broad overall approach to audit, that is the scope, timing, direction. Students, please do not write STD in your exams. Scope, timing, and direction of audit. Okay. Now, based on this, that is, audit plan addresses the various matters identified in the overall audit strategy. It addresses the various matters identified in the overall audit strategy and see how the strategy will be implemented by performing what all audit procedures is what audit plan is. So it describes how strategy is to be implemented. So what is to be done, how the same will be done, right? It is more detailed. Why more detailed? See, overall audit strategy with you are giving an overall approach, but audit plan with specifically you are saying as to what procedure is to be done, right? So रिस्क असेसमेंट प्रोसीजर्स में क्या होगा, वो भी नेचर, टाइमिंग, एक्सटेंट, same in nature, timing, extent of the further audit procedures at assertion level. Assertion level, this word also gives that it is a detailed version as compared to strategy. What is assertion level? I'm sure that in the first chapter you would have obtained an understanding of it. Otherwise, we'll be discussing it in the next session. And it includes the nature, timing, extent of audit procedures to be performed, right? But students, this is, you can say, a difference, right? So, the this paragraph now, the establishment of the overall audit strategy and the detailed audit plan are not necessarily discrete or sequential process. What is meant by discrete? Discrete means separate. And what is meant by sequential? Happening one after the other, but are closely interrelated since changes in one may result in consequential changes to the other, right? So students, see, this is for sure that once the overall audit strategy has been established, only then the auditor can develop a detailed plan. Now, quickly tell me, suppose there is a change in the audit plan, right? So let me just give you an example. When the auditor was establishing the overall audit strategy, scope, timing, and direction of audit, auditor decided that since the internal controls are appearing to be good, they are going to rely on the internal control of the organization. And with respect to, let's say, the routine kind of transaction, the sales, the purchases, they are going to check the transaction on sample basis. They'll rely on the internal control, right? Now, accordingly, the audit plan was made. But when audit plan was made, and if you remember, I've told you that it will not happen कि audit plan हो गया and now audit has started and now planning will not be done. Audit plan and audit will go hand in hand. Now, while auditor was checking, let's say, the sales transaction, he found that there are a number of misstatements in the sales transaction, so he cannot rely on the internal control as such. So now there is a change in the audit plan. Auditor decided to, perform various other procedures with respect to the audit plan, which were earlier not decided. Now tell me, will it lead to a change in overall audit strategy also, or vice versa? Quickly send in your replies. So Harsh is saying change in audit strategy can lead to consequential changes in audit plan. Jyoti is saying change. Uh, every one of you are saying yes. Okay? So we cannot say with respect to audit plan, if you remember, we discussed that what was the line? That audit plan is a continuous and iterative process, repetitive and continuous process, right? Same way here also, the establishment of overall audit strategy and detailed plan are not discrete and sequential process. That once overall audit strategy has been established, plan will be established. Uske baad there will be no change in the overall audit strategy. This will not happen. That is true that before developing an audit plan, you need an overall audit strategy to be established. But a change in audit plan will result to the consequential change to the other. That is, a change in audit plan will lead to a change in overall audit strategy, and a change in overall audit strategy will lead to a change in the audit plan. That means overall audit strategy and audit plan are closely related. Is it clear? Is it clear? ठीक है? Let me just have a look at your replies. Yes, ma'am. ठीक है. Now, let me just ask you one question. Tell me, whose responsibility is to develop the overall audit strategy and the audit plan? Quickly, give me the reply. It is whose responsibility? Is it the management or the management of the client? Or let's say, is it the client or the auditor? So, Bhumika saying auditor, Tanvi saying auditor, Dharni, Harsh, Supriya, Kiran, Janvi, Rajveer, Anubhav, Sunil, Harshda, Rihana, Aman, Prem, Jyoti, Anup Kumar, Bani, Akshara, Yash, Ayushi, Dimple, Nisha, Vaishnavi, Dhanush, Priyanka, everyone is saying auditor. Mahek, Mosam, everyone is saying auditor, which is absolutely correct. Okay? So, establishing the overall audit strategy or development of the audit plan is the auditor's responsibility. So, you may get a question that you have been appointed, or let's say XYZ and Associates is the auditor of ABC Limited, and the engagement partner asked the manager of the accounts department to develop an audit plan, since he is having an understanding of the financial statement. So this is not correct, right? And again, auditor may discuss the elements of planning with the entity's management without compromising the effectiveness of the audit. So though it is the responsibility of the auditor, but since they have to work together, the auditor and the client, so the auditor may discuss elements of planning with the entity's management, but without compromising the effectiveness of audit. Simple. This we have covered earlier also. Right? Now tell me, can the plan be changed? We have discussed it a number of times. So yes, it can be updated and changed as necessary. So unexpected events, let's say you planned that on we'll be performing these procedures on to this extent. Let's say there is a fire in the client organization. So will it lead to a change? Obviously less. Changes in condition. Let's say that during the year, the company acquired a factory, right? So will it lead to a change, right? Then the audit evidence obtained and revised consideration of assessed risk. So revised consideration of assessed risk. Assessed risk is by performing risk assessment procedure. So when you considered the risk that was assessed by you under SA 315, now your perception has changed. Why? Because some audit evidence has been obtained which is contrary of what you considered at that time. So obviously that is going to lead to a change in the audit plan or the overall audit strategy accordingly. Is it clear? Simple है ना ये टॉपिक? ये हमने लास्ट सेशन में डिस्कस किए थे अच्छे से. अनुभव, you are right. ठीक है. Now, see, whenever we are discussing any topic, I always tell you that, let's say CA is the engagement partner and he has a team, let's say of some senior staff, article clerk. So who will be performing the field work? It is the article clerks or the clerks or the senior staff, right? But who is responsible for the audit report? Who will be putting his signature? The engagement partner, though the engagement partner is also involved, but he alone is not looking after the entire examination of the financial statement, right? So is there a need to direct, supervise, and review the work of the team members? Answer is yes, right? So the next topic is with respect to planning such direction, supervision, and review of the work. So when the auditor has to plan such direction, supervision, review, see, planning will include that also, na? That how to supervise, when to supervise the work of the uh, engagement team members, right? So the auditor shall plan the nature, timing, extent of the direction, supervision, review of the team members, and it depends upon various factors. So quickly tell me, without looking at the module, what according to you is going to impact the nature, timing, extent of your planning of direction, supervision, review? Quickly send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies. So Anubhav is saying change in location, management, cooperation, nature of work to be audited, auditor, size, nature of entity, risk associated, area of risk of material misstatement. ठीक है. See students, or see, consider yourself as the engagement partner and you have a team whereby you have article clerks and senior staff who is conducting the audit, and you have to see whether to supervise the nature, the timing, and the extent. To what extent you need to review the work, when to supervise, what kind of supervision is required, right? So just consider what are the points of importance. First and foremost, the capability and competence of the engagement team. See, if you feel that the engagement team is consisting of new article trainees who are not having any experience as such, your direction, supervision, review is going to be more. To the person who is performing that work, unka capability and competence. Simple. Then the assessed risk of material misstatement. So you have performed risk assessment procedure. You have assessed the risk of material misstatement with respect to this particular client. So what was that assessment? If the risk of material misstatement with respect to this particular client as was assessed is high, so maybe the engagement partner will increase his direction, supervision, and review of the work. Right? Clear? Then the area of audit. Let's say the article clerks are just going through the miscellaneous expenditure. So the engagement partner may decide to just look at the work at the end. He may just review at the end. But with respect to, let's say, any transactions, related party transactions, mergers, acquisitions of the company, or let's say the transactions involving Forex. So maybe those transactions, the engagement partner would involve himself. So more review will be done, right? Or maybe that is given to the senior staff and he's constantly directing, supervising, and review. So are you able to understand these factors? So these are the three factors. First is was competence and capabilities of the team. Then the assessed risk of material misstatement, and then the area of audit and size and complexity of the entity, right? If it is, let's say, a complex organization, service bhi de rahi hai, it is manufacturing products also, let's say software bhi manufacturing hai, hardware bhi manufacturing hai, research development ka expenditure is also to be seen. So the auditor may, according to his professional judgment, if this is having an impact on how to, supervise, or this is going to have an impact on his involvement in the entire activity. So that is the other factor. So what are the four factors? The size and complexity of the entity. The area of audit. I gave example of miscellaneous expenditure. So yahan pe maybe he'll just come at the end and just review, right? But if these are compare it with related party transaction or transfer pricing transaction, that is the transaction with foreign subsidiaries and all, right? Or let's say there can be domestic transfer pricing transactions also, or wherever forex transactions are confirmed. तो यहाँ पे the involvement of or the direction, supervision, review of the engagement partner is going to be more. Same way, if the risk assessed risk of material misstatement is high, the more is the direction, supervision, review. Capabilities, competence of individual team members performing the audit. Simple. Simple. Now my next question to you. ठीक है? Tell me, is the documentation of all these things, overall audit strategy, audit plan, the changes, if any, is it required? Documentation. Quickly send in your replies. So, Harshada, Aman, Apurva, Yash, Rajveer, everyone is saying yes. Prem, Shalija, Bhumika, Mahalakshmi, Ayushi, everyone is saying yes. Absolutely correct. Now, students, documentation किस चीज का चाहिएगा? What all documentation will be required? Overall audit strategy, audit plan, and if any changes are made, what are the reasons for such change, right? This is a very easy thing which all of you are able to answer. Now tell me why this documentation is required. When you get this question, most of the students, they write this thing that yes, documentation is required with respect to overall audit strategy, audit plan, and the changes, but they never write why. Now you tell me why. Why is this documentation required? Helpful for future reference, Charan is saying. As a proof, Dharni is saying. As an evidence, Mahalakshmi is saying. For disclosure about audit procedure, Rihanna is saying. Plan and inform stakeholders, evidence purpose, avoid further dispute, taking decisions, future auditors को help करने के लिए, to justify our opinion, Harshada is saying. For record purpose, Akshara is saying. I'll give directions to engage. It will give directions to engagement. Absolutely correct, right? So I can say that when the documentation of overall audit strategy, audit plan, and significant changes and the reasons thereto is maintained by the auditor. So as such, essay 230 is there. The name of essay 230 is audit documentation. Chapter 6 mein you are going to study about that. But you will see, student, in each and every essay that you are going to study, abhi we are studying essay 300. A small paragraph is always there with respect to documentation. So auditor has to maintain a documentation of what he is doing. So auditor shall document overall audit strategy, audit plan, and the significant changes and the reasons. Abhi we are discussing this documentation with respect to essay 300. Hana? I've told you 230 mein there is a separate essay with respect to audit documentation. Otherwise, each and every essay that we are going to study, it has a small paragraph that iska documentation karna hai. So essay 300 is with respect to audit plan, audit strategy only. Na? So it is talking about the documentation of those three things only, right? Now, if the auditor maintains a documentation with respect to the overall audit strategy, audit plan, the significant changes and the reasons, right? What is it going to help the auditor? By maintaining a documentation of all these things, this is going to help the auditor to keep a record of. So what is documentation? It is a record of what you have done. It can be in the paper form, like the hard copies, or it can be in the soft copy form. It can be in your pen drive, a folder on the desktop. So a record of key decisions that were made. Now keep in mind overall audit strategy, audit plan, and the changes. ठीक है? So key decision तो कहीं पर भी हो सकते हैं ना, तो key decisions, the nature, timing, extent of risk assessment procedure, the nature, timing, extent of further audit procedures, proper planning, ठीक है? Standard audit program and completion checklist. So we will be studying about audit program as the next topic. So it will help in maintaining a record of the standard audit program and completion checklist and the significant changes, why the same has been made. If a record is maintained, it will provide the appropriate response as to why such change has been made. Is it clear? Simple. So a record of the key decisions, considered necessary to properly plan the audit and to communicate significant matters to the engagement team. The nature, timing, extent, a record of nature, timing, extent of risk assessment procedure, a record of nature, timing, extent of further audit procedure, proper planning का record, a record of standard audit program or completion.
Recording in
Is it clear?
progress.
Very simple topic. Is it clear? ठीक है. Now, students, just read the this test your understanding third. CA Mary, while planning an audit of a company, feels that she would inquire from in-house legal counsel of the company status of pending litigation matters against the company. Now read it very carefully. To identify and assess the risk of material misstatement. Considering above description, are you able to identify the said procedure? Where these procedures are included in planning in accordance with SA 300. Read this question again, then only answer. Let me just have a look at your replies. Prem Kumar, absolutely correct. Aman, absolutely correct. But students, this question, this tester understanding is asking you two questions. So give me two answers. Read it again. See, it often happen in exam na, that many of the students do that. They will read the question, they'll just read as to what is asked in the last part and they'll answer to it. But if you just read, first of all, it is asking you to identify, are you able to identify the said procedure? This is the first question. Then where these procedures are included in planning in accordance with SA 300. This is the second, right? So I need two answers. So for all those who are saying correct is not the answer. Yash, check your answer. Aman, complete your answer, the second part. Janvi, it is identified, but what is this procedure? Rajveer, give me the answer to second point also. Yash, check your answer. Smriti, correct. Now, second is where these procedures are included in accordance with SA 300. So where have you read that the auditor needs to include the nature, timing, extent of planned risk assessment procedures? So I've given the answer also. These are what? Yes, Mehak, correct. Development of audit plan, right? So let me just show you the answer from the module itself. So the first part is, are you able to identify the said procedure? So it says that she is inquiring with the legal counsel. So see, inquiry is one of the audit procedure. The auditor may perform it as a risk assessment procedure or as further audit procedure. Okay? But here it says to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement. So this is talking about SA 315. So this is talking about risk assessment procedure. Clear? Then where these identified procedures are included in planning in accordance with SA 300. So you have read, or let me just take you to the answer only. The answer is given on page number 2.32. So it says that these are planned risk assessment procedures to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement, right? The objective of planned inquiry is to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement, and this is given in the question itself. Now, the second part, such planned assessment procedure are included in the audit plan in accordance with SA 300. Clear? So, SA 300 में आपने कहाँ पढ़ा है? In development of an audit plan. Is it clear? But students, be careful. If you are asked 2 questions, you will get answer if you reply both the questions. Now, tell me, Charan, are you able to understand the answer? Supriya, Smriti, Mehak, Prem Kumar. ठीक है? ठीक है. Now read this fourth test your understanding also, page number 2.18. CA Shubhendu is a statutory auditor of a social media company. Due to change in information technology regulations by government, it has become mandatory for such companies to constitute grievance redressal mechanism for users of social media platform of the company. Failure to comply with regulations can potentially lead to civil and criminal liabilities against the company. Is the above factor to be considered while framing the audit strategy? So send in your replies. Read this question again. So there is what? There is a change in information technology regulation by the government, right? So is it a factor to be considered while framing audit strategy? See, this question itself gives you as to in which paragraph or in which topic the answer to this question is there. See, the factor that is to be considered, right? So factors to be considered, man, what is the factor that is given in the question? It is change in law and regulation. So is it a point whereby we have studied this? So consider the factors that in auditor's professional judgment is significant in directing the engagement team efforts. This topic is given on page number 2.11. So the significant changes in the other significant relevant development like changes in legal environment affecting the entity. So is it a factor that is to be considered while the auditor is developing an overall audit strategy? The answer is yes. So let me just have a look at your replies. Dhanush, please specify your query. By mistake, maybe I've said SC 315 for planning, so it is SC 300. If I have said, I don't remember. See, why will it not come in domain of the auditor who is writing? Bhumika. See, student, the question says, such regulation can potentially lead to civil and criminal liabilities against the company. And there is a change in information technology regulation. Is the above factor to be considered while framing overall audit strategy? So we have read 5 factors that the auditor needs to consider when he's establishing an overall audit strategy. So it is a factor because this is a change in the legal environment applicable to the company. Bhumika, is it clear now? Is it clear? Now, before starting with the audit program topic, I want you to go through one or two MCQs first. So we are on page number 2.29. Read this first MCQ. Which of the following is not considered in planning and audit generally? Right? Understanding the legal and regulatory framework of an entity. Need to consider determination of materiality. Evaluating audit evidence. Need to consider involvement of expert. Abhi, you are planning the audit. So all of you, Mahalakshmi, Prem, Jayendra, Supriya, Priyanka, Dharani, Rajveer, Harshada, Mausam, Anubhav, Mehak are answering this question correctly, Mehak. So it says, see, which of the following is not considered in planning and audit generally? Understanding the legal and regulatory framework of the entity. So planning phase will include understanding the, if you remember, it was understanding the client's business. So legal and regulatory framework will come. Need to consider determination of materiality, whether a particular thing is material with respect to a particular client. So I gave you example of, let's say, fixed assets hai ya nahi? Is it a service rendering organization or is it a manufacturing company, right? So need then evaluating audit evidence, and the D point says need to consider involvement of expert. Now, abhi to you are just planning. So will there be a need to evaluate the audit evidence? This is appearing to be not correct. Let's see the last option, need to consider involvement of expert. So expert ka involvement bhi planning stage mein it will come. So which will not be considered? It is the C, which is evaluating audit evidence, because it is going to come at a later stage, right? Which of the following is true? So question, students, you are required to read the question very carefully. It is saying which of the following is true, है ना? तो read it correctly. True पूछा है, false पूछा है, correct है, incorrect है, right? So this question is saying true about the audit plan. Once an audit plan has been finalized for an engagement, changes cannot be made to it. So this is not true, right? Because changes can be made. Audit plan includes scope, timing, direction of planned risk assessment procedures. Tell me, is it true? So it is nature, timing, extent, right? So this is also not correct. Changes in audit plan cannot lead to change in audit strategy. Is it true? This is also not correct, because we have seen that audit plan and audit strategy are closely related. Change in one will lead to consequential change to other. Audit plan has to be documented by the auditor. This is correct, right? Because we have seen documentation is to be done. Let me just have a look at the answers that you are sending. So D, everyone is saying D, which is correct. Good. Audit program abhi we are going to do. Read this fifth question. Which of the following is most important principle for formulating an audit plan? Gaining knowledge of the client's workforce, gaining knowledge of the client's business, gaining knowledge of the client's vendors, gaining knowledge of the tax laws applicable to client. See, it says most important principle. So tell me, what should be the answer to fifth point? So all of you are correct. Yes, it is gaining knowledge of the client's businesses. So as just rest of the thing, the knowledge of the client's business. Now, students, if you remember, a topic was left whereby I told you that after we have had a discussion of this risk assessment procedure, I'll be taking up that topic, which is this topic. Okay. So we have seen that audit is what? It is a continuous and iterative process, right? Just a minute. Right? That shortly begins after the completion of the previous audit and continues until the completion of the current year audit engagement. So I'm doing a topic which is given on page number 2.5, which I left because I wanted to do it once we have a discussion with respect to risk assessment procedures. So basically, it says that before performing risk assessment procedures, there are certain matters that the auditor should consider. So before performing the risk assessment procedures, so matters to be considered prior to auditor's identification and assessment of risk of material misstatement, certain things that the auditor has to consider. Just try to understand what is the topic. It says that before performing the risk assessment procedures, what all the auditor is going to consider. Tell me. So first and foremost, what risk assessment procedure has to be applied, right? And if you remember, when we were doing the various kinds of risk assessment procedures, I told you inquiry, inspection, observation, analytical procedure. Then another point can be whether analytical procedure is to be applied as risk assessment procedure. Now, the question is why so much weightage to analytical procedure? This you will be able to understand when we are going to do essay 520 in chapter number 4, I suppose. Okay? So the 2 points is first and foremost the procedure of what risk assessment procedures. Second is whether the analytical procedures are to be applied as risk assessment procedures. Then determination of materiality. Then involvement of experts. If you remember, we have done one MCQ relating to this. Now you will be able to understand this more clearly. So the risk, before identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement, the matters that are to be considered, that is before performing the risk assessment procedure, first of all, auditor will see whether the analytical procedures are to be performed as risk assessment procedure and what other risk assessment procedure. So this is risk assessment procedure, okay, are to be performed. Then a general understanding of the legal and regulatory framework. So if you are conducting the audit of a bank, then RBI regulations, what are the the current RBI regulations, right? The materiality, what is material with respect to a particular organization. Now, materiality as such is what? Your important. So determination of materiality. In detail, we will do this when we will be covering essay 320. Okay? And whether the involvement of experts is required or not. Let me just take you through this topic from the module also. So planning includes need to consider prior to auditor's identification assessment of risk of material misstatement, that prior to performing the risk assessment procedures, such matters as analytical procedures to be applied as risk assessment procedures, performance of other risk assessment procedures, right? Then obtaining a general understanding of legal regulatory framework applicable to entity and how entity is able to, entities complying with that framework, the determination of materiality and the involvement of experts. Is it clear? Simple topic. Simple why? Because now we have gone through this topic, right? So the MCQ that we have just discussed, see, planning also includes need to consider determination of material. This is page number 2.6. Significant matters. It also involves considering whether experts need to be involved, taking into account complexity of business. Further, it also involves need to perform risk assessment procedures for identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement. But before performing such procedures, these factors are to be considered. So tell me, is everything till page number 2.18 clear to all of you, so that we can proceed with the next topic, which is audit program, interesting and important topic. So let me just have a look at your replies. Bani saying clear. See, Yash is saying how expert help in planning. See, expert as such is not helping in planning. But when you are obtaining an understanding of the client's business, let's say you are conducting the audit of an insurance company, right? Now you know that with respect to insurance company, certain calculations are to be done, which are done by actuaries, right? So whether the services of such actuaries will be required, right? So whether actuarial evaluation will be required, or let's say when you were planning at the planning stage with respect to a client who's involved in construction of, let's say, building and all. So whether the service of an expert, let's say civil engineer, be required. So here, while the auditor is obtaining an understanding of the client's business at the planning stage, he's determining as to whether expert ka involvement while conducting an audit will be required or not. I'm not saying that or expert will help. Abhi expert is helping in planning. So whose doubt was it? Yash, is it clear? So at the planning stage, auditor will determine as to whether involvement of expert will be required or not. So Yash is saying clear. That's good. Okay. So we have understood overall audit strategy, audit plan, and now the third leg of this chapter, which is what? Audit program, right? So just a minute. Page number. This is 2.18. So tell me, when we discuss the example of as to relating to your organizing a holy party, if you're sending some invite to all the invitees, what are you going to write? Or on the wedding invitation, what is the word used? Program, right? So this is the arrival of Bharat. This is the dinner time, fairas, everything is mentioned, right? Same way, if you are sending the invitation for the party, you will be writing there na, that from this time to this time, this is going to happen. From this time to this time, this is going to happen. At 8 o'clock, there will be dinner. Everything will be mentioned. So this is what a program. Same way, having established an overall audit strategy, having developed a detailed audit plan, now is the time to prepare an audit program. What is an audit program? It is, let us read this second definition. It is a detailed plan of applying the audit procedures. So where have you determined the audit procedures? SA 300 mein, when we were developing the audit plan, the planned nature, timing, extent of risk assessment procedure, the planned nature, timing, extent of further audit procedure, and other planned audit procedures as required by other S's. Remember that the audit plan should include a description of all these three things, right? Now, audit plan is a detailed plan of applying the audit procedure in the given circumstances with the instructions for the appropriate techniques to be adopted for accomplishing the audit objective. So everything we are studying in this chapter is planning only, right? But once the audit plan has been developed, now in detail as to when such audit procedures will be performed, by whom such audit procedures will be performed, what will be the date, by who is going to review those audit procedures or the outcome of those audit procedures, right? Everything will be mentioned with respect to that particular audit procedure. Or another definition can be, it is a series of verification procedures. A series is one after the other, or you can say steps of verification procedures to be applied. Where is the auditor going to apply the verification procedures? Obviously to the financial statement and the accounts, right? Of the financial statement and accounts. Whose financial statement? Of the given entity. Why? For the purpose of obtaining sufficient evidence Why? To enable the auditor to express an informed opinion on the financial statement. See, students, why I'm saying why again and again, because I want to all of you to know that these definitions are very, very logical. If you just, ask yourself that why has this word come in this definition, you will automatically be able to derive the next word. So read this first definition with me again. Audit program consists of a series of verification procedures. ठीक है, कहाँ अप्लाई करना है, वेयर इट इज टू बी अप्लाइड, टू बी अप्लाइड टू फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स एंड अकाउंट्स, किसका, ऑफ अ गिवन एंटिटी. व्हाई? फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ ऑब्टेनिंग सफिशिएंट एविडेंस. व्हाई? To enable the auditor to express informed opinion on the financial statements, right? In other words, audit program is a detailed plan of what, of applying the audit procedures in given circumstances, along with instructions for the appropriate techniques to be adopted for accomplishing the audit objectives. Is it clear? Abhi, I've just given you a very rough idea as to what an audit program is. Tell me, is it clear? Let me just have a look at your queries. Or so Akshara is saying time, date, venue batayenge. Bhumika is saying venue, time, the schedule of events to be held. Charan is saying, Bani is saying, accomplishing is to achieve. Meaning of accomplishing is to achieve. Achieve the audit objective. Mahalakshmi, is your doubt clear now? Because we have discussed this in detail. Mahalakshmi, please send in your replies, otherwise I'll repeat it. Okay. So are you able to understand? See, when you ask me that, ma'am, who is saying this? A very nice query, just a minute. Harshita is saying, ma'am, do we need to disclose the audit program to the client? See, again, Harshita and others, see, whether to discuss any element with the client or not, it depends upon the auditor's professional judgment. Auditor can always discuss the elements of planning with the client. This is a part of planning itself, but it should not compromise with the effectiveness of audit. So if I give the audit program to the client, whereby I have mentioned that surprise check of cash and investment is date ko hoga, will it compromise with the effectiveness of audit? The answer is going to be yes, right? Otherwise, though, in order to have in order to conduct the audit in an effective manner, we have to discuss certain elements of planning as to when we are coming. Remember, I gave you example that US-based subsidiaries and December May there is an off of all the all the companies there, and obtaining data is not possible. So ये तो discussion से ही पता चलेगा ना. Is it clear? Whose doubt was it? Harshada? ठीक है. Now, for all those who are saying, ma'am, what is the difference between the plans and the procedures? See, plans may we have decided the nature, time, extent of the audit procedures that is to be performed. Now will come, okay, let me just show you one of the detailed program. Planning is clear now. Let me just show you one program whereby, see, this is page number 2.25 of your module. Extract of sample audit program pertaining to sales of an entity. So this is with respect to sales. So it will be mentioned in the program, prepared by whom along with the date, reviewed by whom along with the date, approved by whom along with the date. So let's say it is prepared by any of the articled clerk. It is reviewed by any of the senior member of the team, and it is approved by the engagement partner. The dates will be mentioned, right? So it is a detailed plan of the audit procedures that we have planned when we were discussing about audit plan as per SA 300, right? So audit procedures have been decided that these will be performed. Extent of checking, for example, yahan par we are discussing about what? Sales. So first of all, prepared by, reviewed by, approved by. Then it is mentioned, vouch few sales invoices from copies available in the record. Extent of checking, let's say it's written 5%, right? Basis of sample. let's say, so it is actually mentioned, right? So let's say it says that if the amount exceeds 10,000, out of that 5% is to be taken. Done by, let's say it is done by, prepared by P. Okay? Trace these invoices into accounts book concern. So again, and now trace these invoices. So 100% of these is to be traced. Done by whom? Verify few invoices. Now, how much invoices? Let's say 80% is to be done. Trace few invoices into stock records. How much? Let's say 80%. Trace also few invoices into the accounts of buyers, right? So are you able to understand the extent of checking? The minutest of the detail will be mentioned as to what is to be given. If you remember, the definition says the instructions are also given, right? And it is not mentioned here, but the objective sometimes is also mentioned, that the objective is to check whether the, let's say, the sales are measured accurately or not. So the objective, the instructions, the techniques, everything is mentioned. This is what is audit program. Now, are you able to now find out as to what is the difference between audit plan and audit program? As such, everything we are doing in this chapter is what? Plan only. So whose doubt was it? Let me just have a look. So Dhanush, is it clear? Nisha, correct? And Dhanush reply, is it clear? And Mahalakshmi, you also reply. So Dhanush is saying yes. Mahalakshmi, you also tell me whether it is clear or not. Quickly send in your replies. Sunil Kumar is saying, ma'am, what is extent of checking? See, extent is, let's say, how much sample you are going to take. So extent of check, let's say there are 1 lakh sale transactions. Is it possible to check all the transactions? Maybe no, because of inherent limitations of audit. So extent of checking, 5% of these will be checked, right? But let's say the auditor can always say that the where the amount exceeds to let's say 2 lakhs, within these 2 lakhs, 100% checking is required. But where the amount is less than 2 lakhs, then 5% is fine, right? So this 1 lakh was number, don't get confused. And this is rupees. Okay? Is it clear? Whose doubt was it? Sampling we'll be doing in chapter number 4 also. Abhi ke liye, is it clear? Sunil is saying yes. Yes, Anubhav, you are correct. So a timetable kind of thing is given. So quickly tell me, are you able to get a brief idea? Abhi, we haven't discussed the entire your this in detail audit program. A lot of topics are left. So we can do one thing here, students. We have had a good discussion today with respect to various topics. So I'll do one thing. I'll take a break of 15 minutes here. And after the break, we are going to cover the entire topic of audit program along with discussing the questions. And students, I've shared the PPT with respect to this chapter and the questions also. So if time will permit, I'll take you through that PPT as well as through the questions, right? So let us take a quick break of 15 minutes. And after the break, we'll be completing this chapter. I hope students, you all are back after the break. So I'll do one thing. There are certain doubts which I can see. Meanwhile, all the students will join. So let me just take up your doubts one by one. So Mausam is saying what is meant by iterative. See, we have studied this word when we were doing nature of planning. That is, it is a continuous and iterative process. Iterative is repetitive nature. So the line was that planning is not a discrete phase of audit. That is, it is planning, audit planning as such is not separate from audit. It is a continuous and iterative process, right? That is, it will keep on happening again and again. You cannot say that planning has been done, now audit will start and now there will be no planning. Planning will be there throughout the audit, repetitive. So Mosam, is it clear? Right? Then Rihanna, regarding your doubt with respect to audit plan, audit program, we will be discussing audit program. We have just seen as to what is it, the definition only we have done. So you will be able to understand that. And as such, you cannot say one, there is no fixed performer for your audit program, Harshada. It depends upon audit team to audit team, but a sample has been given in your module, or otherwise you can find a number of samples on Google also. Is it clear? And then there is one doubt with respect to analytical procedure. So I'll just explain it. Though I have told you that we'll be discussing about this in chapter number 3, this risk assessment procedure. So I'll just explain this once. Whose doubt is this? Gandhi Murugan, right? So see students, what happens is, let's say auditor he is identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment. That is, his performing what the risk assessment procedures, right? One of the risk assessment procedure is what analytical procedures. So analytical procedure is nothing but, let's say one of the example can be when the auditor is calculating the GP ratio, right? So SA 520 may we will do this in detail, right? So GP ratio may, let's say auditor finds that he is performing what risk assessment procedure. He is trying to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement, right? So let's say when he's performing analytical procedure as a risk assessment procedure, he founds that the GP ratio of this particular client, the trend that is in the last 4 years, it has been 10%, 11%, 12%, and this year it has been 16%, right? So this is something unusual. So what he did, he compared it with the companies, different companies in the similar industry. That let's say the client is a company which is manufacturing furniture. So he found that the other companies which are manufacturing furniture, they had a trend of this, right? Right? So this is something unusual. So auditor will now, based on his outcome of risk assessment procedure, auditor decided that his nature, timing, extent of checking with respect to, let's say, see what can be the reason for this. One reason can be there are fake sales which are shown to show increased profits. So what will be the impact on further audit procedure? Auditor may decide that the nature, timing, extent with respect to sales transaction will be that he's going to check 100% sales transaction. He's going to obtain external confirmation with respect to 100% debtors. So are you able to get that by performing one audit procedure, which is analytical procedure, as a risk assessment procedure, the outcome of this activity, auditor decided the nature, timing, extent of his procedures that he has to perform as further audit procedures. That is, see, procedures kya ho sakte hain? External confirmation. Now he's decided that he'll obtain 100% external confirmation from debtors. Now he'll check 100% of the sales invoices. He's not going to rely on the internal controls of the organization. Is it clear now? Mr. Gandhi, is it clear? Gross profit ratio. Anup Kumar, GP ratio से I mean gross profit ratio. Gross profit ratio. So he's saying clear. Others also please reply. Now is it clear? A little idea about the how the outcome of risk assessment procedure will determine the nature, timing, extent of the further audit procedures that the auditor has to perform, right? So students are saying yes, ma'am, clear. Chalo. Now we were discussing what? We were discussing your audit program. Okay? So see students, with respect to each audit and more particularly for bigger audits, development of audit program is a mandate. It is required. Why? Because if an audit program is not made, then it might be possible now that the article clerk, they are not checking the transactions that are required to be checked. They are not checking the procedures that are required to be checked or to be performed. So when there is a detailed plan of applying the audit procedures along with the instructions, along with the techniques that is going to be followed, then audit program will serve various advantages that we are going to just study, right? Now tell me students, if I have made an audit program with respect to a manufacturing concern whereby I have considered that okay, sales में ये सब check होगा, the way we have seen a sample for sales invoice का checking, sales ledger का checking and all. I have made an audit program for purchases, for depreciation. Is that same audit program, can this be possible that, for example, ABC and Associates is a firm of chartered accountant, right? It has made one audit program for XYZ Limited, which is a manufacturing company, right? One audit program. Now, can this be applied with respect to a service provider also, another client, which is a service provider, or will there be any changes that are to be made? Can I use the same for all the businesses? So Mahalakshmi is saying no, Priyanka, Anubhav, Nisha, all are saying no, which is absolutely correct. Bhumika, Mehak, Harsh, absolutely correct, right? So same audit program is using same audit program is not possible. So the topic is evolving one audit program not practicable for all businesses. Why? So see, businesses vary in nature, size and composition, right? Work suitable to one business may not be suitable to others. We have discussed, so I'm just taking you through this. The efficiency and operation of internal control of a particular client, exact nature of services to be rendered, they may vary from assignment to assignment, right? So why evolving one program for all the businesses is not possible? Because first of all, the business vary in nature, size and composition. Also work that is suitable for one's business is not suitable for the other business, right? The internal control, right? The internal control is implemented by the client organization and it plays a very important role when the auditor is deciding the nature, timing, extent of the further audit procedure. In fact, students, you will see when we will be doing essay 315 that the name of the essay is what? Identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment. And it includes what? Internal control also. So the efficiency of operation of the internal control and exact nature of service that is to be rendered, that also varies from assignment to assignment. So that is why developing one program is not possible. So what to do? So it says that though developing one program is not possible because of these reasons, but there is a necessity that in the audit program, everything should be specified in detail. The nature of work to be done. Why? So that no time will be wasted on matters not pertinent to audit engagement. But pertinent is what? Not relevant, right? So there should be some clear set of instructions as to what nature of work is to be done. Why? Otherwise, let's say new article clerks are there, they waste their time in the matters that are not relevant to that particular audit engagement, right? And secondly, if any special matter or specific situation is there, that should be taken care of. So it should not happen that important matter have been overlooked by the article clerks, and the matters which are not important, they are devoting their time towards that only, right? So that is why there is a necessity to specify in detail in the audit program the nature of work to be done, so that no time will be wasted on matters that are not pertinent. Pertinent is what? Relevant to the audit engagement, and special matter or specific situation, if any is there, then the care should be taken with respect to that particular matter. Is it clear? Is it clear? So you may get a situation-based question that an article clerk is there who has been asked by the engagement partner to um, or a senior member is developing an audit program and he's giving the same audit program with respect to all the clients. So is it fine? So it is not. Why? Because there can be what? Difference of nature, size, composition. Work suitable for one business may not be suitable to other. Efficiency operation of internal control may be different, and exact nature of service to be rendered may be different, right? Is it clear? Is this topic clear? Okay. Now, see, when the audit program is given, right? So it might be possible that somewhere there may be certain additional things that are to be checked. And maybe something is mentioned in the audit program, which as such, as of date, is not relevant to a particular client. So what to do in that case? So it basically says that the article clerks or the engagement team members or the assistants who are following the audit program, because we have seen that standard program can be there. Why? We have seen here now, so that the program should specify in detail the nature of work to be done. Why? So that कोई important matter है that should not be overlooked, and any irrelevant matter should not be devoted time, in simple language, right? So this is the same point. The second concept that we are going to study with respect to audit program is assistant to keep an open mind, right? So if in the audit program something is mentioned which is not relevant for a particular client, so the assistant should keep an open mind and should ignore that. And if something is not mentioned but that is relevant for the particular client, so he should devote his time and energy towards that matter, right? And if something significant comes to his notice, he should not just keep mum that since it is not mentioned in the audit program, I'll not discuss. No, he should be motivated, instructed to note and report such significant matter to the senior partner or the proprietor. Very logical. So let us read this with me. So it says that the topic is what? Assistants to keep an open mind. So it says that the auditor, that is the engagement partner, he or she should frame a program with minimum essential work and standard program. See, why we are studying this topic? See, once an audit program has been framed, see, actual position, actually what all is to be checked, that can be seen only when you are actually checking, right? So prior to starting the audit, maybe something is missed, right? But while you are actually checking, you found that something important is there. So will you ignore it? This is the reason why we are studying this topic. So it says that auditor should make a program with the minimum essential work, that is a standard program, based on what? The nature, the size, composition of business, the dependability of internal control, and the given scope of work. So based on all these things, the nature, size, composition of business, the internal control, and the scope of the work of the auditor should frame a standard program with the minimum essential work. Simple, right? But this is very logical that experience is gained by actually carrying out the work. When you actually do the work, then you are able to understand the actual position, right? So in the program, something may be altered to taken care of. For example, situations which were left originally but are relevant now. Situations which are originally provided are irrelevant, right? So the assistant should be encouraged to keep an open mind beyond the program given to him, right? Also, he should be instructed to note and report significant matters to the senior partners or the proprietor. So in order to understand this topic clearly, let me just take you through one of the questions that is given on page number 2.25. So quickly we will cover that. Page number 2.25. See, read this test to understanding 5. So it says, Rohit, undergoing practical training, is part of engagement team conducting an audit of a company engaged in manufacturing of paints. He has been provided with an audit program pertaining to sales. It lists out various items to be checked and verified by him, including invoices, rate list, postings, correlation of invoices, e-way bills on sample basis. During verification, he notices that many e-way bills have been cancelled by the company within 24 hours of the generation of the month of March. There is no specific instruction in the audit program in this regard. He keeps mum. That is, he doesn't share this with anyone and he's just silent about this. Is attitude of Rohit proper? So nothing is mentioned in the audit program with respect to this particular aspect, because at the time of framing audit program, maybe how let's say the engagement partner was not able to foresee as to such thing can happen with this particular client. But while actually conducting the verification of sales, the the article clerk found it. So is this assistant means yes, junior article. So is this behavior proper? Rajveer is saying no. Harshita is saying no. Right? So let us just have a look at the answer that is given in your module. Answer is correct. Let us just read this. Attitude of Rohit is not proper. The assistant should observe matters objectively and bring significant matters to the notice of supervisor or principal. Reasons for cancellation of many e-way bills in the month of March need to be looked. Matter should be informed to the engagement partner. So there is one doubt that what is meant by keeping an open mind. Basically, it means that you need to be alert. And open mind, it says that you should not only restrict to what is mentioned in the audit program. You should apply your mind also. That, okay, this particular point is now not relevant for my client or the client for which I'm conducting the audit. And this point, though it is not mentioned in the audit program, but it is relevant for my client, right? Is it clear? So let's say during an audit program has been given during the year under audit. Now, there has been certain, the company has acquired shares in a foreign subsidiary. Earlier, there was no foreign subsidiary. So is this a important point? Yes. So the article clerk need to discuss this with the management. Or let's say during the year, there has been a scrap sale of a huge amount. So is that important? Yes, it is important. Or a machinery, huge machinery has been sold. So is this important to be discussed? And there is nothing mentioned in the audit program with respect to that. So it says that keep an open mind, apply your mind also. Is it clear? Whose doubt was it? Uh, what is Anup Kumar? Is it clear now? Anup, please reply. ठीक है. ठीक है. Now the third topic with respect to this. So evolving one audit program not practicable for all businesses. We have done assistance to keep an open mind. Then also there should be periodic review of audit program, right? For example, let's say with respect to a particular item, the GST that is applicable is, let's say earlier it was 5%, now it is 18%, but the same is not updated in the audit program. So this should also not happen. So there should be what periodic review of the audit program. Simple. Now, let us read the explanation from the summary that I have made. So, periodic review should be there. I hope you are able to understand the example. Understand the example. The change in this GST rate, let's say. So, there should be updation in the audit program. Okay. So, it says that there should be periodic review of the audit program. What kind of periodic review? That whether the program continues to be adequate for obtaining the knowledge and evidence about the transaction. So whether that program that has been made, whether that is adequate for the purpose of obtaining the knowledge and evidence about the transaction. Otherwise, what will happen? See, if it is not updated, for example, 5% pay GST has been mentioned, though the rate has been changed to 18%, and the company is also continuing to charge 5%. So this is not correct, right? But since the articled assistant is given the audit program whereby 5% is mentioned, he'll say everything is correct with respect to such transactions. So the audit program should have been updated. Otherwise, what will happen? The change in business policy of the client may not be adequately known. And if such thing happens, audit work will be considered as carried on the basis of obsolete, which is not applicable, old program. And for this negligence, whole audit may be considered to be negligently conducted, and the auditor will have to face legal consequences. So why? Because he is going to give his opinion based on the procedures, the conclusions drawn on the basis of audit program, which is not correct, which is not updated. So the opinion is going to be incorrect. So he may face legal consequences. So how can the utility of the program be retained or enhanced? By keeping the program, the client operations, the internal control under the periodic review. So it might happen, let's say you have been appointed as auditor of a company for 5 years. At the beginning of the first year, you have prepared a program. So will that program continue for the next 4 years also? So it says that you may continue with that, but keep it under periodic review. What is meant by that? See, you have made audit program based on your understanding of the client, its operations, its internal control, right? So keep them under review. Keep the entire program under review, right? So that any redundancy or inadequacies can be removed. Something that is not required, redundancies which is not required, or inadequacies that can be removed. Simple? Is it simple? So periodic review of audit program, I hope it is clear, students. So Anubhav is saying crystal clear, ma'am. Others also please reply. Nandini is saying yes, teacher. Others also please reply. Harshada saying yes. Very clear. Anup is saying very clear. Kiran is saying. Chalo, good. Now the next question is how to construct an audit program. So we have seen a sample. Okay. So let me just first take you through that sample again. Periodic review, just a minute. So we have seen this sample, right? So this is just a sample with respect to sample of audit program for the sales, and that is just an extract, right? So in the audit program, with respect to sales, a number of things will be mentioned that in order to check whether it is sales are measured properly or not, in order to see whether the sales have actually occurred during the year, check these. In order to check the, let's say, the presentation disclosure, check these. Hana? In order to check the various assertion with respect to sale, check these. This is the extent of checking basis of sample done by, and a number of things can be included, right? Now, when the auditor is constructing an audit program, what all points should he keep in mind? What all points should he keep in mind? This is the next topic that we are going to discuss. So first and foremost, it says that the auditor should, while he's constructing an audit program, he should stay, let me just take you to the other file. He should stay within the scope and limitation of assignment. For example, let's say the auditor has to construct an audit program with respect to the inventory of the organization. And I've told you earlier also that physical inventory count, conducting the physical inventory count of the client organization. So it is one of the internal controls that is implemented by the client only. The employees of the client perform this physical inventory count. Then what does auditor do? He just observes such in physical inventory count, whether that is happening in the way that management has instructed. And based on his observation, he draws conclusion, right? Now it says stay within the scope and limitation of the assignment, right? Now, when the auditor is deciding the audit program with respect to inventory, so auditor is mentioning the date, let's say as 5th August. But the company is not conducting physical inventory count on 5th August. Company has a policy to conduct the physical inventory count on the close of the financials, on the close of the last date of the financial year. So you will have to stay within the scope and limitation of the audit now of the assignment with that particular client. So with respect to this, you can check inventory count on this day only. Same with respect to cash, right? So counting of cash or cash verification will be better if it is conducted near the balance sheet date. So stay within the scope and limitation of the assignment. Is it clear? Prepare a written audit program. So verbal audit program as such is nothing. You cannot just dictate that, okay, you have to do this and the other team will say that, okay, we have done. No. Prepare a written audit program, right? Then determine the evidence reasonably available and identify the best evidence. See, when the auditor has to obtain audit evidence with respect to a particular transaction, let's say with respect to debtors, you have to obtain uh, evidence. A number of evidence can be available, like verifying the sales invoice, है with the let's say the sales agreement, with the goods received note, with the GST returns. So this can be one kind of evidence, or it can be obtaining external confirmation from the client from the third party, right? So there can be a number of audit evidence that are available. The auditor needs to mention what is the best evidence that can be obtained. Best evidence, right? So first we have seen stay within the scope and limitation of the assignment. Second, prepare a written audit program. Third, determine the evidence reasonably available. That reasonably, what all kind of evidence can be made available with respect to particular transaction or resolution or account balance. Identify the best evidence, right? Based on this only, the next point, apply only those steps which are useful in accomplishing the verification process. So in simple words, I can say, make it clear. Don't confuse the article assistants. Apply only those steps which are useful in accomplishing the verification process. For example, if let's say with respect to, let's say building, the ownership of building is to be seen, whether the building is been owned by the company. So clearly mention that you need to consider what title deeds. Don't create confusion. Apply only those steps which are useful in accomplishing the verification process purpose. If instead of title deeds, I write here, go and inspect the building. So will inspection give me the desired result? No. Inspection, so ownership, you will not be able to get now. Ownership can be seen only from the title deeds or let's say the electricity bills, right? So applying only those steps which are useful in accomplishing the verification purpose, right? Include the objective area, audit objectives of each area. When we were discussing about the audit program sample, I told you, if you remember, that here it is not mentioned, but audit objectives are also mentioned in the audit programs. See, I've mentioned here now that audit objectives are also mentioned. So mention those objectives also, that why this is to be done, because we want to check the ownership of the building in our example. Okay? So include the audit objectives. Consider all possibilities of error. If there can be certain error, consider that while you are constructing the audit program, and coordinate the procedures to be applied to related items. Read it again. Coordinate the procedures that are to be applied to related items. What is meant by that? For example, I'm checking sales. Okay, I'm applying certain procedures, credit sales pay. I'm applying the same procedures while I'm checking debtors. Then I'm applying the same procedures when I'm checking the amount of provision for bad and doubtful debts. And then I'm applying the same procedures when I'm checking the banking transaction with respect to these sales. So it's better now coordinate these procedures. Why there should be duplication of work? So coordinate the procedure that are to be applied to related items. When you are checking plant and machinery, consider that while you are performing procedure with respect to depreciation, addition, deletion, depreciation, it is going to have an impact. So do not just start it from very fresh. Try to coordinate the procedures that you are going to apply to the related items. Is it clear? I'll take up your doubts. Pele, let me just take you through the module with respect to this. So constructing an audit program. So stay within the scope and limitation of assignment. This is page number 2.2 of your module. Scope and limitation of assignment. Then prepare a written audit program setting forth the procedure that are needed to be implement the audit plan. Determine the evidence reasonably available and identify the best evidence that is necessary for deriving the necessary satisfaction. Apply only those steps procedure which are useful in accomplishing the verification purpose of in specific situation. Include audit objective for each area in sufficient details which serve as a set of instructions for the assistant involved in audit and help in controlling the proper execution of the work. See, when you have a clarity that this is the objective, why I'm doing this, your output is going to be more effective and efficient, right? Consider all possibilities of error, and last but not the least, coordinate the procedure to be applied to the related item. I hope it is clear. Now I'll have a look at the queries that you are sending. Clear? Is it clear? There is no query as such. Is it clear? Sunil Kumar, you have mentioned GST portal. Is it your query or what? Okay. Now, there is one very good paragraph which will help you in further understanding this. This page number 2.20, paragraph number 8.4. So I'm reading this first paragraph for you. The audit planning ideally commences at the conclusion of previous year audit. This we have seen that planning is a continuous and iterative process. Begins shortly after the completion of the previous year audit and continues till the completion of the current year audit engagement. We have seen that. So the audit planning ideally commences at the conclusion of the uh, uh, previous year audit. And along with the related program, it should be reconsidered for modification as the audit progresses. So along with the audit program, it should be, basically it is saying it should be periodically reviewed. So it should be reconsidered for modification as the audit progresses. Such consideration is based on the auditor's review of internal control, the preliminary evaluation thereof, and the results of compliance and substantive procedures. What are these compliance substantive procedures? These are basically the further audit procedures. So it basically says that such consideration of modification, that is the modification in the audit program or the audit plan, can be made based on the review of internal control, preliminary evaluation, the preliminary engagement activities ka result, and the results of the compliance and substantive procedure. So can I say whether it is overall audit strategy, audit plan, or audit program, all can be changed, and a change in one will lead to a change, consequential change to other? Quickly send in your replies. Anubhav, Kiran, Charan, Rajveer, all are saying yes. Others also please reply. See, Mahalakshmi, I told you na, that suppose you have made an audit program and next year also you are the auditor of that company. So you will make changes to that audit plan. You will make changes to that audit program if situation required. Let's say last year your client was a total this non-computerized manual transactions were there. This year there has been computerization of each and every aspect. So will that audit program or audit plan be applicable to this year also? No. So you can always change that, or if less changes are required, the same can always be revised depending upon the situation, the circumstances of each particular client and the auditor's professional judgment. Mahalakshmi, is your doubt clear? Students, please reply whether you are able to understand. Right? This is constructing an audit program. This topic on page number 8.5, I'm giving you as a homework. It basically says that the audit program, it is designed to provide an audit evidence. Just go through it. It is a very simple topic. Here I would see, and this says that audit evidence can be documentary examination, physical examination of, let's say, inventory, the assets, Hana, statement explanation of third party, that is external confirmation. So you will see that we have seen all these things here or there, and we'll be doing this in detail in chapter number 4 also. So I'm not doing this. Yahan pe, this is important. So when we were saying in this, that determine evidence reasonably available and identify the best evidence. So now this topic says that what is the best evidence? So cash in hand ke liye, what is the best evidence? It is the count. Investment pledged with bank, what is the best evidence? It is the banker certificate. So just have a read to give a reading to this. It is going to be very clear to you. So the next topic that I'm starting with now is you all is advantages and disadvantages of audit program. Tell me, without looking at the module, what can be the advantages of an audit program? I need replies. Uh, we are left with less time, and I want to cover a number of discussions with you. Do not look at the module or the screen. Clarity in working environment. Aman is, I think, saying accuracy. Gives clear instruction to the articles, gives important to material areas. Yes. See, you all are now able to give correct answers on your own. Timely audit can be done. Guidance to article clerks. Absolutely correct. Employees are not allowed to conduct fraud. Helps the auditor to simplify what is needed to be done. Absolutely correct. Okay. So let us just have a look at the advantages that are given, and you can always get a 4-marker or 3-marker question out of this very simple topic. But yes, you need to learn and after understanding. So what are the advantages? So an audit program is in front of you. You are conducting the audit of a client, and you are now aware as to what is to be done, right? For checking the existence of this, I need to check this. For checking the measurement of this, I need to check this. So it is what? It is a total and clear set of instruction. First, it gives a total and clear set of instruction. Second, it gives a total perspective of work to be performed. Perspective is what? Idea. So you are able to understand. So first of all, instructions are there. Second, perspective is what? Idea. So you are able to have an idea as to what work is to be performed, right? Selection of assistants as per the capability becomes easier. Now, the engagement partner has the audit program in front of him, and he can see that, okay, there are transactions in Forex also. There are certain, let's say the system that is been implemented is SAP based system, right? Or let's say with respect to related party transactions, this team has a lot of experience. So selection of assistant as per the capabilities become easier. Okay. Fixed assets के लिए this team is best. Okay. Danger of ignoring or overlooking certain books of records, this can be significantly less. So the danger that you ignore or overlook important thing is reduced, and audit will proceed systematically. Okay. Assistant, see, if you remember in this audit program, we have seen done by. So the assistants who are doing this, they are going to put their signatures. So their responsibility will be fixed. So the assistants who put the signature, they accept the responsibility, and the principal, that is, you can say the engagement partner, he can control the progress. Why? Because as and when the audit is progressing, the the audit team, they are referring to the audit program and they're putting their initials that we have done this, and all this have been covered. So after having a look at the entire audit program, you can see as to what is the progress of the audit, and it provides a guide for the audit of the succeeding year, that is for the future audit. And in case of any event of charge of negligence on the auditor can always show it as an evidence that, see, I've conducted the audit as is required, and it acts as the evidence in case of event of any charge of negligence. Is it clear? Now, as every coin has two sides, audit program also had certain disadvantages. Tell me what can be the disadvantages. Tell me what can be the disadvantages quickly. See, suppose you are given a set of instructions. It might happen that many of the article clerks, they don't apply their mind and just keep on doing what is mentioned in the audit program without understanding what is done, why it is done. Okay. Secondly, the assistants, let's say there are certain assistant or the article assistants who are very innovative and enterprising in nature. They want to do a lot of things, but since they have to follow that audit program also, they are not able to do that. So it may kill the initiative of the enterprising assistant, right? And when you are being given any format, that is, with respect to sales you have to check this, with respect to sales you have to check this, it may lead to what? It may lead to mechanical exercise. And since an audit program that has been given to you, it may appear to someone that it is rigid and not flexible. Okay? So let me just take you through the points. So what are the disadvantages? So it becomes mechanical, carried out without. So this is without understanding. Okay? Rigid and inflexible approach can be there. Inefficient assistants, they get a shelter behind this program, and it kills initiative of the efficient and enterprising assistant. Let me just take you through the module for this disadvantages. So advantages we have done. See, disadvantages. The work may become mechanical, and particular parts of the program may be carried out without understanding the object of such parts in the whole audit scheme. The program often tends to become rigid and inflexible. Following set grooves, the business may change in operation, but the old program may still be carried out, right? Also, changes in staff or internal control may render precaution necessary at points different from those originally decided upon. It is basically says the way I have given you example, that let's say you are appointed as auditor for 5 years of a company. First year you have made an audit program, maybe it is not reviewed, right? Since you take into account the business of the client organization, the internal control, while you are preparing an audit program, there may be change in the client's business, there may be change in the internal control, which has not been taken. So it becomes rigid and inflexible. Inefficient assistance may take shelter behind the program, that is, defend deficiencies in their work on the ground that no instruction was given in the matters contained. So they may say that since nothing was mentioned, we did not do anything with respect to this point. A hard and fast audit program will kill the initiative of the enterprising and efficient assistants. Is it clear? Okay, maybe they wanted to check a particular thing in their way, but since some other way is mentioned in the audit program, they have to follow that. So these are the advantages and disadvantages with respect to audit program. Will there be a solution to this? The answer is yes. So now what is the solution, which is the last topic of this chapter, which we have to cover? So quickly send in your replies. Understood so far? So Mahalakshmi, is it clear? She's saying, ma'am, how inefficient assistant take shelter. See, suppose the way we took this example of test your understanding 5, let me just take you through that only. On page number 2.25, see, during verification, he notices Who notices? What is the name? Rohit. That eBay bills have been cancelled by the company within 24 hours. There is no specific instruction of audit program in this regard. He keeps mum. Is his attitude proper? He'll say that it was not mentioned, so I did not do anything or I did not report it to the senior. ठीक है, Mahalakshmi, is it clear? So, Mahalakshmi, please reply. Is it clear now? So, I hope all of your queries are clear. ठीक है, Mahalakshmi is saying clear. Others also please reply. So, Anubhav is asking for this doubt where it is mentioned stay within the limitation and scope of audit. So, if you remember, I've given you example of C. Read this with me. This paragraph, page number 2.20. It says that auditor normally has flexibility in deciding when to perform audit procedures. So in audit program, you are basically mentioning when the audit procedure is to be performed, right? Now the point is stay when you are constructing the audit program, stay within the scope and limitation. However, in some cases, auditor may have no discretion as to timing. For example, when observing the taking of inventories by client personnel or verifying the securities or cash balance at the end. So this thing is going to happen at the close of the year only. This is a kind of limitation with respect to the audit assignment. So auditor needs to consider that. Stay within the scope and limitation of the audit assignment. You can consider the example for this as this paragraph. Is it clear now? Whose doubt was it? Let me just have a look at queries again. Anubhav, is it clear? ठीक है. Now, how can this be resolved? ठीक है. So it says that these disadvantages that we have seen with respect to the audit program, these can be eliminated. How? By imaginative supervision. By imaginative supervision of work carried out by the assistants. We have seen a paragraph now, a topic that assistant should be encouraged to keep an open mind. So imaginative supervision of work carried out by the assistant. Imaginative supervision. Assistant should also have an attitude whereby they are encouraged to observe the matters objectively. So basically, with respect to assistant, this is the point. This point says that imaginative supervision of the work should be there, right? Auditor must be of receptive attitude as regard assistance. So it should not happen that when the assistant or the article clerk is approaching the engagement partner, he's saying that you're not supposed to ask me anything, whatever has been mentioned in the audit program, just do that. No, he should be of receptive nature. Receptive is that willing to listen, willing to take others, you can say suggestions also. So receptive attitude as regards the assistant. So these are the 2 points on the part of the engagement partner or the auditor, that first of all, imaginative supervision. Okay, how can you just motivate the assistants or work carried out by the assistant? Then receptive attitude should be there. Assistants, what is to be done, what is required on the part of the assistants now? Assistant should be encouraged to observe matters objectively, whether it is correct or not, right? They should apply their mind and they should bring the significant matters to the notice of the supervisors and the principal. So if this happens, then the disadvantages that are there with respect to the audit program, that will not have an impact, right? So is it clear? So with this, we have finished the entire chapter number 2. Before discussing the questions, I would want all of you to reply. Have you understood this chapter? Have you understood as to how to learn or how to prepare this chapter for your exams? Quickly send in your replies. And many of you are sending me queries for the notes. See, students, a PPT will be uploaded with respect to this chapter. Along with that, certain questions which are separate from the questions that are given in your module. Those will be uploaded on the portal by today or maximum by tomorrow morning with respect to this chapter. These notes, why I am not sharing, because sometimes I also get confused what short form I have written. So I always advise you to make your own notes by writing on the left hand side of the book or by highlighting the keywords, right? So Rajveer is saying yes, clear, ma'am. Priyanka is saying clear. Yes, running notes are also fine. The notes by which you are able to, revise and learn and do the chapter. So whose doubt is this? See, Tanvi is saying, ma'am, give example for disadvantage number 4. That is, it kills the initiative. That point only, I'll do that. Wait, Tanvi. Her practice question, I have told you, will be given for every chapter. Rihana, those will be uploaded along with the PPT also, which summarizes this entire chapter. Yes, I'll do that. Charan is saying, please give an overview of the entire chapter. Okay. So, Tanvi has a doubt with respect to killing of the initiative. So, for example, Tanvi, let's say the sales transactions are to be checked. Now, certain article clerks may be there who have a different innovative approach as to how to proceed with checking the sales transaction. But since the instruction is to be followed, so their initiative is killed. That is the initiative of efficient enterprising and assistants may be killed. Why? Because they have to follow that audit program. But then there is a solution to this also, that imagine it is supervision and the auditor. So you can fit that example whereby I told you that suppose the article clerk is having some other idea, but the engagement partner say that you do not tell me anything, whatever is mentioned in the audit program, do that, right? So what is the solution to that? That receptive attitude should be there. Is it clear? Is it clear? So let me just now quickly take you through the entire chapter, as many of students are saying. And students, if there is any feedback form that is to be filled, please do fill that form. Your feedbacks are very, very important. So students, we started by discussing regarding the benefits of planning an audit. Why is it necessary? So effective. So I'll be taking only the keywords effect, so that audit can be conducted effectively, timely manner, and they can be compliance with professional standards. And the benefits are appropriate attention to the important areas, potential problems, that is likely problems can be identified and resolved, so that audit can be organized and managed in an effective and efficient manner. Selection of team members according to their capabilities and competence and help in reviewing the work. Direction, supervision, review, so DSR, and coordination of the work done by others. Okay. So, and the purpose is so that audit risk can be reduced to an acceptable low level. That is the risk that auditor may give an inappropriate opinion is less. So what is the nature? It is a continuous and iterative process. It is not a discrete phase of audit. What are the matters to be considered prior to auditor's identification and assessment of risk of material misstatement? So the analytical procedures to be followed, to be performed as risk assessment procedure. Last point, other risk assessment procedure. Second point, general understanding, legal and regulatory environment, materiality, the determination of materiality and involvement of experts. Okay. What are risk assessment procedure we have discussed, but detail में chapter 3 में we will see, right? This was the discussion that we have had. Then involvement of engagement partner भी, keep members भी होना चाहिए. Why? To draw their insight and experience so that to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of planning process. Yes, auditor may decide to discuss the elements of planning with the management, but it should not it should not compromise the effectiveness of audit, right? Clear? Then planning process, elements of planning are preliminary engagement activity and planning activity. Preliminary engagement activity, I told you how to learn something about the auditor, something about the client, and then an understanding of the terms of engagement. Planning activities, we have overall audit strategy and audit plan. So performing procedures regarding continuance of client relationship, we saw that matters to be considered: integrity of the principal owner, key management, competence of engagement team, matters in current previous year audit engagement, initial audit engagement may communication with predecessor auditor. Now, ethical requirements and independence. What is independence? That is, we have seen, and students see I'll discuss one question with you. See, engagement partner pe what are the responsibilities? So you will mention this. Okay. Let me just see if that question I have. Yes, this question. This is one of the past year question. Just go through it. Chapter this CAN engagement partner of LPS associate is planning for audit of large company. As part of preliminary engagement activities being performed in this regard, he wants to ensure that compliance with independence required is adhered. How shall he form a conclusion that audit firm complies? So it is asking for responsibilities on the engagement partner. So you are specifically required to write those points only with respect to engagement partner. Okay? Clear? This is one of the past year question. So let me just take you through that. So obtain relevant information with respect to threats to independence, evaluate whether information is there with respect to identified breach, take appropriate action to eliminate threat, reduce it to an acceptably low level by applying safeguards, or withdraw from the engagement and promptly report to the firm. Auditor will send the engagement letter. You may get MCQ who will send, right? Different options can be given. So it is not the client to the auditor, but auditor will send before the commencement of the audit to avoid any misunderstanding or confusion. Establishing overall audit strategy, that is, it sets the scope, timing, direction of audit, and resource management. May it helps what resources, how much, when, DSR. This is the way to learn, but you need to write these keywords. Okay. And then overall audit strategy ke baad, what are the factors? Identify the characteristics of engagement that defines the scope. Ascertain the reporting objectives. Just try to link these 5 points with STD. Okay. Then consider the factors that in the auditor's professional judgment are significant in directing engagement team efforts. Consider results of preliminary engagement activities and whether knowledge gained on other engagement performed by engagement partner for the entity is relevant. And then ascertain the NT of resources necessary to perform the engagement, right? Once the overall audit strategy has been established, the matters that were identified, the audit objective and efficient use of resources that we have to keep in mind and develop an audit plan. SA 300, planning and audit of financial statement, right? So nature, timing, extent of planned risk assessment procedure, nature, timing, extent of planned further audit procedure at assertion level, other planned audit procedure as required by the essays. So nature, timing, extent may I see what type of audit procedure, what timing and how much. Okay. Relationship, we have seen that audit strategy sets the broad overall approach to audit and it determines the STD of audit. Audit plan addresses the various matters that are identified in overall audit strategy, describes how strategy is to be implemented. It is more detailed and includes the nature, timing, extent of the audit procedure. But yes, establishment of overall audit strategy and detailed audit plan are not necessarily discrete. They are not separate or sequential process. That is, ऐसा नहीं है that once overall audit strategy has been established, audit plan has been established, now there will be no change in these two. They are closely related since changes in one may result in consequential changes to the other. And it is the responsibility of the auditor, but he may discuss it should not compromise with the effectiveness of audit. Simple. Updation changes can be made as necessary. What are the circumstances? Unexpected events, changes in condition, audit evidence obtained, whereby it has revised the consideration of assessed risk, right? Planning, supervision, review. So what all factors auditor is going to consider? Size, complexity of entity, area of audit, assess risk of material misstatement, capabilities, competence of individual team members performing the audit work. Very important. You can get a direct question here also. Okay. Documentation of overall audit strategy, audit planning, significant changes and reasons. Why? Because it helps to record all these things. Key decision, NT of RAP, NT of FAP, proper planning, standard audit program. Now standard audit program, I hope it is clear. Significant changes, why made appropriate responses. Okay. Then we did audit program, the advantages, disadvantages involving one audit program, not practicable, assistant to keep an open mind, periodic review of audit program, and the construction of audit program. So this is the chapter. You can send. See, students, Bani is saying how to remember concepts of audit subject, ma'am. Can you please give some suggestions for us? See, I'll definitely share the suggestions as and when we'll proceed. But as of now, I can just say that you need to go through the concept that we have done after the session ends. So before coming for the next session, that is chapter number 3, you should be clear with chapter number 1 and 2. Clear say, I mean, you should have gone through the module once or twice. You should have made your notes, and you should have at least started remembering the keywords. And I always tell my students that whenever you are revising, let's say for when you are coming for chapter number 3, you are revising chapter number 2, you should flip on the pages of chapter number 1 also. In this way, you will never forget the topics and you will never forget what we have done or what we have covered in the earlier chapters. Just keep on flipping the pages and try to learn the keywords now itself. Don't wait for your exam time that abhi to I've understood, I'll learn it later on. Learning should be done with the classes itself. Okay? Apart from this, I'll be sharing the techniques as and when we will be meeting for the next session. I just want your 1 or 2 minutes because I want to just show you the PPT that will be uploaded. So just give me a minute, just a minute. I hope students, you are with me. And students, the questions that I have shared, that will be shared now. So the answers are also mentioned. One sheet is there with respect to answers. So I have mentioned the answers also. And in case you have any doubt, the same can always be discussed. So this is the PPT that has been shared with you. You can just go through it. But again, as I always say, that see, module is the basis. You have to read the module. These can always help you in, just revising. See, like performing procedures regarding continuance of client relationship. So I haven't mentioned what is to be mentioned under this paragraph. So reading of the module is a must. Twice, thrice, it is up to you, but you should consider your module as the basis of your preparation of examination, right? Summaries or the keynotes, as the way you like, you can always prepare them. See, practice question, Rihanna, I've told you that they will be uploaded. So otherwise, is any of you having any doubt, please let me know. And also, please send in your replies as to whether you have understood the entire chapter number 2. And also, if there is any feedback form that is to be filled, I request you all to please fill in that form. The way you have given the extra 8-10 minutes now and you have made this session interactive, I would really want you all to make the sessions, the upcoming sessions for chapter number 3 and 4, which are scheduled for this month, to be very interactive, right? Thank you, students, for being patient listeners, and have a good
Thank
day.
you.
But okay.
Okay. Okay, ma'am, you can complete.
But please, I just want to say that whenever you will be coming for chapter number 3, you should have done your chapter number 1 and 2. Any query, if left in today's session or last session, I would definitely take that up. So thank you. Over to you, Ankita ma'am.
So thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful lecture. And students, today we have completed our chapter number 2, Audit Strategy, Audit Planning, and Audit Program. Till now, we have completed 2 chapters, chapter number 1 and 2. For the revision purpose, you can also refer Saransh, which is available on ICAI website. The next session is scheduled on 7th of March, that is Friday. The timings will be same, in which we will be starting the chapter number 3, that is Risk Assessment and Internal Control. And one more information, ICAI is organizing webinars for the paper number 5, Auditing and Ethics, which is scheduled tomorrow. The first webinar will be tomorrow. The timing of the webinar will be 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. And the topic will be Ethics, Terms of Audit Engagement and Quality Control. So you can find the schedule of a webinar on ICAI website also. And I'm also sharing you the link on the chat. So okay, so then students, see you on a webinar for tomorrow. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye,
Okay, ma'am.
students. Bye, ma'am. Yes, yes.